A month ago, President Donald Trump unabashedly celebrated the death of former FBI Director Robert Mueller. "Good, I'm glad he's dead," Trump said. "He can no longer hurt innocent people." On Monday, Trump and his White House responded to a shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner this weekend by decrying Democrats' supposedly beyond-the-pale rhetoric and labeling them a cult of hatred. Their chief example of this kind of rhetoric? ABC comedian Jimmy Kimmel telling a joke that made light of Trump's potential demise. Days before this weekend's shooting, Kimmel joked that First Lady Melania Trump had a glow like an expectant widow. Apparently, it's okay for Trump to celebrate a public servant's death. It is not okay for Jimmy Kimmel to joke about Trump's. The shooting at this weekend's dinner has yet again led Trump and his White House to focus on Democrats' rhetoric, despite Trump's own demonstrated history of extremely ugly rhetoric. Republicans are largely repeating a blame game they waged after Charlie Kirk's assassination last year. Thus far, the strategy hasn't appeared to work. Polls show Americans generally view the right's rhetoric as more violent and dangerous. But the water is getting muddier. Episodes of political violence have almost become a choose-your-own adventure in which many people, on both sides, seem to embrace attractive but false narratives about the motivations behind political violence. And that's liable to lead to ugly places. This political violence stems from a systemic demonization of Trump and his supporters by commentators, yes, by elected members of the Democrat Party, and even some in the media, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Monday. This hateful and constant and violent rhetoric directed at President Trump, day after day after day for 11 years, has helped to legitimize this violence and bring us to this dark moment. The first thing to note is that definitive statements about alleged shooter motivations this early are generally speculative, at best. Often, reports surface that suggest the perpetrators had mental health issues. The accused attacker, Cole Thomas Allen, apparently left a paper trail that provides clues about his potential motivation, including social media posts that compared Trump to Adolf Hitler and encouraged others critical of his presidency to purchase guns. But as with Charlie Kirk's assassin, it's difficult to draw such a direct line until you know more. Secondly, while it's completely valid to think it was a terrible idea for Kimmel to joke about Trump's death, the president long ago ceded the moral high ground on such things. Pearl-clutching over Kimmel's jokes or Democrats' rhetoric without addressing Trump's own rhetoric is a remarkable exercise in selective outrage. Trump has, quite simply, crossed the line both more forcefully and more often. There's the prominent example of the January 6, 2021, Capitol attack, when he encouraged his supporters to protest and stayed silent for hours as violence broke out, resulting in multiple deaths, but there's plenty of other examples, too. That last one is a particularly important theme. Even as Trump's White House was assailing Democrats' rhetoric after Kirk's death, Trump suggested right-wingers who get politically violent do so for valid reasons, while left-wingers do not. Trump's comments on Mueller's death were in a similar vein. Maybe it's gauche to celebrate death, he seemed to be saying, but just think about how much damage this guy did. It's the kind of calculus that plenty of others have used to justify political violence.